There is nothing as taxing as endurance racing. Drivers and cars run for impossibly long distances, sometimes for 24 hours straight, stopping only for fuel, new tires, and to change drivers. In these showcases, you can drive many types of car, all designed and built to survive these grueling long-distance races. You'll have to keep an eye on your mirrors and your energy levels if you're to make it through these events in one piece.
Since 1963, the Bathurst 1000 has been captivating drivers and race fans from Australia and all over the world. The October Classic is a race that makes you famous. Peter Brock became the most recognised driver in Australia for winning it more than anyone else. A record 9 times. It's 6.5 hours of racing flat out up and down Mount Panorama. And it's the mountain that usually decides who wins or comes up short.
(6,200 metres, 23 corners with a very high average speed. It is a great racetrack, Mark Skaife.
It certainly is, Neil. This is the #1 racetrack in this part of the world, and as Neil said, 23 corners, 300 kilometres an hour down the main straight, the most famous straight in Australian motorsport, Conrod Straight. Down to the chase for the fastest touring car corner in the world. Stand by, this will be fantastic.
As Mark pointed out before, we've got cameras from every conceivable angle around here.
Garth Tander joins us on the line now as well. GT, like to get your thoughts. Your teammate Greg Murphy is third in the field at the moment. I just heard him on the radio talking about the change not helping. It's still got a bit of oversteer.
Yeah, made a change in that stop, so as everyone up and down pit lane does, you can adjust the rear of the car pretty easily these days. So made a change in that stop. It's a rehearsed change, they did it in the warm-up this morning, but the track conditions are obviously a fair bit different with the temperature and obviously with what's going on at turn 2 at the moment. So just adjusting as the race goes on. We know it's going to get hotter as the day goes on as well.
You've been here many times, 16 starts at this mountain, you've won the thing. This is a pretty wild one, GT.
Sort of had that feel coming into it, didn't it, that it was going to be an interesting one.
The Super Cheap Auto Bathurst 1000 of Mount Panorama. A problem at the start. Look at McLaughlin up the inside, the Volvo, a ripping start. Winterbottom to the outside, Van Gisbergen drops 2 spots before he gets to turn 1. Out wide on the outside was car 222 back in about 10th. But it is a storming start here for McLaughlin, who's already got a car length on them. Van Gisbergen trying to recover as they go up to turn 2 for the first time. Can Gizzy do this on cold tyres? He drops back in with Lowndes behind in 4th.
James Courtney, one of the busiest drivers around at the moment.
Some numbers here for you, Matthew, with this diff ratio in the car. Changing out of second, 150 k's. Changing out of third, 178. Changing out of fourth, 220. And peaking in 5th gear up Mountain Straight here at 260 kilometres an hour. So you break a typical legal speed limit in 1st gear by 16 kilometres an hour. Such is the performance of these cars. Courtney now up at the cutting, 2nd gear.
Johnson's time is standing the test. James Courtney is the 6th car out, 52.11.
Fully unloaded suspension to fully weighted in 0.1 of a second. They strong-arm the car. James taking a lot of time, though, to grab that throttle.
He popped across the curbing, but Philippi, we saw some awesome pictures yesterday of the thing really dancing. Look how hard he's got to work that wheel across the top of the mountain. And that shot gives you a great indication of the elevation change here. Anybody that's ever driven around this place, they're astonished by the rise and fall of this racetrack and how narrow it is in places.
Literally falls away from under your feet. Courtney has, well, he's bitten into that time a little bit between sectors 1 and 2.
This is a good time, it's a good lap so far from James. Grabs 6th, now starts to think very deeply about where he's going to try and hustle the car through the chase at 300 k's. Let's listen. Short shift 2nd to 3rd, trying to avoid having the car break into oversteer with the back of the car sliding.
This is where it went wrong for his SBR teammate. This is cool, calm and very collected from the youngster, James Courtney.
Fourth gear ramp run out of turn one. Well done, mate. That's a great effort. Good splits there.
A very good job this weekend by Brian. Made a little mistake in qualifying when it could have been the case that he was the quickest man. There's D'Alberto in the Super Cheap Auto entry. He's sharing that with Tim Slade today. It's car number 10, slightly different livery. James Courtney's on board car number 22. He shares with Greg Murphy. He was formed here a couple of years ago. It was a storming drive. He's been a runner-up before. He's had a third place as well. Runner-up in 2007. Had a very fast race last year. We only had 2 safety car interventions for a total of 5 laps. The questions: who's got the pace? Who's got vehicle stability over the journey? What about driver compatibility and consistency? Pit stop performance, strategy, teams maintaining their discipline, fuel efficiency, reliability, and always the question mark for the weather. The cars are heavy with fuel. The first battle is 225 metres to turn 1. They've warmed their brakes and their front tyres. Their rear tyres are cool. So shuffle up to the edge of your seat.
Well done, Shane Van Gisbergen. That was quite a smart move, but what a start from McLaughlin. And a good move also from Steve Richards there, just to sneak in and lob that car of Craig Lowndes into a competitive spot early. Dale Wood in 5th. That's also a good start with young Moffat right behind. Good job. James Courtney's made ground. That's a good start from James. There was a couple of guys that really balked at the start there. This is on board now with Whincup. This great shot from the left-hand mudguard as he sneaks up the inside before you get to the top of the hill.
Oh, big moment for Richards. Cold tyres over the top of the hill. Pushed wide over the jump there at McPhillamy.
Wow, I said that was a conservative one for Steve at turn 2, and I thought that was very good placement of the car, but that's not good placement. That was a big moment.
Caruso having a peep up the inside. Car number 18, Jack Perkins at the helm. Remember, those cars that have got the green light switched on in behind the windscreen, got the co-drivers on board. It is McLaughlin building towards 300 kilometres an hour that leads the field. Winterbottom and Van Gisbergen, pressure between them. Then it's Richards, a big moment for him. Look at Whincup, he's not messing about. A bit of hip and shoulder with car number 34. Greg Ritter is in that car at the moment.
Great job, mate. Use your bars if you've got that entry switch, mate.
Richard Holway, engineered for the man that leads the race. At the end of the first of 161 laps, it is Scott McLaughlin with 0.6 of a second over Mark Winterbottom, then Van Gisbergen, the pole sitter, then Stephen Richards. Next in the queue, Dale Wood, then James Moffat, James Courtney, Fabian Coulthard, Nick Percat, car 222, who got a bit of a shove at turn 1 on lap 1. Then Todd Kelly, car 7, in position 10, despite the scare pre-start.
Great job, Jamie Whincup, up 5 spots, and a very bold manoeuvre down the inside of Ritter at the chase. They're big risks, those ones, Neil. We said at the start of the race, this is a 300-point day, but it's Australia's biggest motor race. The race everyone wants to win, and you can see there the level of aggression from Whincup. 5 positions on the opening lap.
Also on that topic of opening lap, just looking at the computer timing here at the moment, Jason Bright got swallowed. He went all the way down to position number 12. Remember, he started off the second row of the grid. He lost 8 spots in the process, so didn't get to focus on his start. But that's going to be a big job now to climb out. That's at least 1, maybe 2 loads of fuel before you recover from giving your opponents that kind of a margin.
That's right, he had a real bubble on the line. He dropped the clutch, it didn't walk away for him, and then he was poorly positioned. He was wide at turn 1, and they all arrowed around the inside, which pushed him wide again. Jack Perkins was another that lost 4 positions in that first lap exchange too, Neil. So young Jack, who was so good in qualifying, little mistake right at the end of his lap would have put him 4 or 5 spots further up. We're on board now with Whincup, and he's down the inside of Pye. This is just over the last rise.
And that moves him to 17. Back to the leaders. We'll get another reading on that gap for you. over Winterbottom. It's pretty much static, 0.66 of a second. Car number 4, which suffered that terrible incident at Sandown, been rebuilt. Lee Holdsworth at the wheel at the moment. There he is, new livery on the car this weekend. 19G impact with the wall at the end of the back straight. Car number 55, Dean Canto making progress in that car. He's in the Team BOC red, white and blue car. It was a shocking start for him. He's had a couple of those this year, so most of the damage done by the time he got to turn 1, and they're still swamping him.
Normally you don't miss the kick that badly, Neil.
He rounded up David Wall, car 17, the Dick Johnson Racing Wilson security entry off the line. But you're right, it did look out of kilter with the other cars around him. Might have been a great reaction time. Give him the benefit of the doubt. 2:10.2, leading at the moment and just opening the margin slightly from Winterbottom. They're now beginning to get an understanding of car trend. Meantime, using our facilities, we've gone back and had a look at whether or not the trigger to start and the jump align, and apparently they do. So Jamie's okay. So you're right, when you can't see the lights, you take the radio cue, and he would have been told to go. Fastest lap of the race now, Shane Van Gisbergen, 2:09.39 as they all find their feet. They'll be making little tweak adjustments to the brake percentage front to rear, little changes to the front and rear anti-roll bars to just find out where the settled positions are in the cars at the moment. And then sometimes you've just got to put up with what you've got until you can trim it later.
And that was the great comment that Richard Holway made to young Scott McLaughlin. As he come up pit straight, he was leading. And for the second lap, Richard said to him, mate, if it's a bit twitchy, just bring that front bar up. So when you're driving, what Neil said before is you've got to assess the balance. Remember, they've got full load of fuel. It's the first run of the race. They haven't run at this time of day. The feeling and the grip level will be something the driver has to try to understand and give the team feedback on to tune the car through the day. But one of the first things that you do is you tune the sway bars, the anti-roll bars on board. And when you do that, if the car is a little bit oversteering, meaning the rear of the car is unbalanced and sliding around, instead of coming off on the rear bar, you come up with the front, which is what Richard suggested to young Scott a couple of laps ago.
We're looking at Jamie Whincup via the rear bumper or rear of the car of his mate Will Davison. This little debate is about 14th and 15th in this race, and I think you're about to see Jamie put a move on, and it's done successfully at the chase. You need a bit of cooperation, and that's what he got there.
That was fast. I mean, when you get the tow, it's a 300km/h right-hander that's flat out. But when you're on the inside and your line is compromised, what Neil's saying is the guy on the outside's got to give you a little bit of scope, got to give you some room to race, and you let him by.
Next in the crosshairs for the points leader and reigning champion, Jamie Whincup, is Jack Perkins. There he is. So Jack's lost a little bit of ground as well. There's Mark Dutton and Dave Couchy, team manager for Red Bull Racing, and Dave Couchy, engineer for Jamie, watching that progress.
Yeah, and I just wanted to add to Jamie's start there. I mean, given that he's got away with it, just if you ever wonder why this team wins so many races, put him down amongst a whole bunch of other cars and he blew them away. Bottom line, blew them away.
I agree. Like that. Why I thought it was a jump start was that all the others were asleep. So seriously, if it's not a jump start, it's an extraordinary run because all the others were parked. And second to that, it's about the team understanding it. So your point, Larko, was not that Jamie's start was so good, it was the interaction with his team because there's no way he could see from there. So they've called it really well. His reaction time was great and he got away with it. I mean, to see his run early, and now clearly he's just got by Jack Perkins actually, so he's up to 13th. In 5 laps has come from the back of the field to 13th. That's a championship statement in Australia's biggest race.
Just a word here from race control. The race director, Tim Schenken, is saying that car 16 at the moment doesn't have either of the brake lights working. It's currently in 17th position. It's Scott Pye, and that would have to be rectified. You can't have that situation, so Pye at the wheel of that car at the moment. This is car 888, Stephen Richards, and right behind him, tucked right behind him at the moment, is James Courtney, and he's hunting.
Just have a look at the top left screen. Very hard to pick.
Well, our technicians who've got more time to study it down inside our outside broadcast facilities at 7 say that it's 6 frames. So it's confirmed on screen there by race controllers, no breach, but 6 frames, about a quarter of a second, I think. So that's tiny. So he flinched, but he flinched on the right side of the razor blade.
And the reaction time normally is about 0.2 for that style of start. So he's actually got away with it without even seeing the light.
We are 6 laps in of 161 of the Super Cheap Auto Bathurst 1000 on a beautiful day at Mount Panorama, and already we have seen so much action. And what a day. The man to catch at the moment. Stay with us, plenty more action to come. It's a big day at Bathurst.
Welcome back to Mount Panorama, our coverage of the great race. The leader, James Courtney, he's got 0.6 of a second over Mark Winterbottom. That's pretty much static. And then it's Shane Van Gisbergen's in position number 4. There are a lot of battles going on in the mid to second half of the top 10. You can see them there at the moment. Meantime, Whincup is making progress at the moment. He's just cleared both the Jack Daniels Racing Nissan Altimas, so that moves him up to 10th. And these are moves earlier. This is the move on car number 15. Nice job on Rick Kelly down at the final corner. On board now with Jamie. Textbook move, easily outbrake down the inside. Report on the radio from Jason Bright. Car's got a little bit too much understeer. He's down in 14th position after the tardy start that we saw before. Frank Adamson from V8 Supercars come back and said there is no issue to race director Tim Schenken about the brake lights of Scott Pye's car, so that's not a problem. And car 22's got a steering wheel problem, and they've got dashboard display issues for Courtney Caruso.
Paul Dumbrell obviously just putting your kit on to get ready in case, I guess, there's a safety car or maybe you're going to jump out of sequence. But wow, that thing is fast. Up what, P10 already in 8 or so laps. You must be pleased with that.
Yeah, no, obviously pretty unhappy with the car throughout practice. So we sort of always trying to work on the race car, and we never really nailed it. Happy with the car this morning. Lownsy obviously going to direction yesterday. So yeah, hey, you know, what's 153 laps to go, a long way to go, but hey, more promising signs than probably what we had on Thursday and Friday.
And what a cool little system you must have used here to get him off the line down the back of the grid.
He probably took my advice from Sandown. I think we're investigating for a jump start at Sandown as well. But no, I'm not quite sure what happened, but always happy to see that little white light on the timing line go out saying it's cleared.
No problem, it was a quarter of a second to spare. It wasn't a problem. Well done.
Thank you.
Good reaction, Paul Dumbrell, but there's the HRT guys all talking, and Courtney's done a great job. He's improved 6 positions, but as Neil said, he's reporting a few issues there with the dash. Whincup, what a great drive. He was angry with himself with a qualifying mistake. This is a real statement in the first stint of this race today. To come from 23rd to currently be 10th has done an extraordinary job. He's taken some pretty big risks, and now he's passing his 3rd Nissan in the 3rd lap of attacking the back of the factory squad, and he has rounded them all up in this zone of the lap. Down the inside, Percat on Dale Wood, that was a good manoeuvre, and there's pretty lively here between the Nissan guys and now Jack Perkins onto the back of Rick Kelly.
That gets him to 7th, Nick Percat. Yeah, this has been a real tangle of cars, so Whincup will have to be a little careful here. So he's on the back now of Dale Wood. Jamie positioning for a move down the inside at turn 1, but Dale covers. He's legally allowed to do that, but Whincup is easily able to outbrake. As Mark Larkham said to Paul Dumbrell, that car's flying. Whincup with some oversteer on the exit though. He could cop a little swamping here. And he's got James Moffat, wants to argue the case up the inside. That tail wag, those few kilometres an hour really make a difference on the corner exit speed. Whincup with half a car length in the middle of the pack. This could be awkward. But he outbrakes and grabs the racing line just. He had to throw it in there. He was still half a car wide of the apex, but he knew that he had to have track position or it would have gone on for another half lap.
Oh, absolutely. That was a dive. That was a move like, it was reminiscent of last year's end of lap with the end of the race move on Winterbottom. That's the dive down the inside of Dale Wood. He got that done, but he had way too much oversteer. So have a look at this now. So Moffat looms up. Then they're 3 abreast. Now you've got to be really careful not to make contact now. So the guys are moving around, the cars get unweighted, the cars do 260 kilometres an hour over that rise, and Moffat actually chose to get out of it. It was a very deep manoeuvre, big, bold braking manoeuvre from Whincup, but Moffat chose to pull it back.
Oh, look at Whincup. He's throwing this thing around. It's hurting the rear tyres. Meantime, the Holden racing team are rehearsing a steering wheel change, and it wouldn't want to look like that because that's not going well. There are multi-pin connectors between the steering wheel and the steering column. and that illuminates the dash, the shift lights, provides all of the information and the data to the drivers. So they're rehearsing it at the moment. They're clearly going to change the steering wheel in car number 22, and they've got to be perfectly centred to get the spline right. There's a little spring release collar on the back of the steering wheel. How's the replay at the top of the hill for Whincup? Big oversteer moment. Now, part of that will be because he's heated the rear tyres. Remember, he skated into turn 1. That was the reason why he went wide on the exit. Then he skated into turn 2. Rear tyres are saying, hey, give me a break. And over the top of the mountain, it starts to slide around. But he's had to drive the thing so hard, he's probably sacrificing the rear tyres a little bit for track position. But he's right on the razor edge of risk at the moment.
We said at the start, this game is the ultimate of thinking on your feet and risk management. Today, Jamie Whincup from 23rd is currently 8th in the first stint of this race in 10 laps. Garth Tander, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, pretty impressive from Jamie. Certainly fast through the field. The jump at the start looked pretty good, but he's got very good pace, can't deny that. So the race is settling in now, isn't it, guys? Finding out what pace they've got, what balance they've got in the warmer conditions.
First of all, Garth, commiserations about what must be a pretty hard thing. I know from a personal standpoint this is killing you, so thanks for taking time to have a chat to us, mate. We were watching the rehearsal there as the boys were playing with the steering wheel attachment on the column, and they're hard to get on sometimes at the best of times. The intention clearly is to change that for 22 at some point.
Yeah, the spare wheel's out at the moment, and they're talking about that now. We've done plenty of practice of that in pit stops, so they can do it pretty quickly, but it is a fiddly job, you know, with all the pins that's in the back of the wheel in the Deutsch connector there. So they'll do it as quick as they can, but it won't cost us a lot of time, and we're pretty sure that's what the problem is.
And what's James saying about the car in terms of its handling and its balance at the moment, Garth?
It's the first time I've listened to him. And it was the first lap of the race, and he's complaining about understeer. And I said, mate, just wait for the tyres to warm up. So he's pretty happy with the car now. He's actually just asked what the pace of the leaders is so he can manage his pace to them. So he's pretty happy with it. Obviously driving blind a little bit at the moment as well. So everything's going to plan. I mean, he's done an awesome job too, from 10th up to 4th, and he's really happy with the car.
You guys have a lot of fun together as teammates, so when you say you've never listened to him before, was that just at this moment, or do you mean generally?
Well, I don't listen to him generally, but mainly this is the first time I've ever listened to him in the car. So there's Whincup past Percat there. So spoke to Nick before the race and told him, mate, you don't win at the first stint. So he's going forwards too. But yeah, Whincup plays pretty ominous.
Thanks, mate. Good to check in with you. We appreciate your time and trouble there. So nice to have Garth Tander joining us in the coverage today, albeit in tough circumstances. Remember, he put a win together with Nick Percat in 2011. Jamie Whincup is the story. He's moved up to 7th in this battle, 0.8 of a second the gap.
Now, we've spoken about the early pace, and Whincup a couple of laps ago had only done a 9.5. He was 1 second slower than Van Gisbergen, who had done an 8.5. So it really meant that he was using his car positioning, his overtaking and his racecraft rather than outright car speed. However, on the last lap, an 8.40 for Whincup. He just broke his own lap record from 2007. It was an 8.46. He's just done an 8.40 for the fastest lap ever in the race.
Pace is actually a little bit quicker than I thought it was going to be because the temps are up. Nice clean stop there for car number 10. Super Cheap Auto Racing. Tim Slade driving with Tony D'Alberto. D'Alberto started the race. So just doing their stop out of sequence. So 8.4 for Whincup. That's impressive.
Incident-free so far. The big story is Scotty McLaughlin's magnificent start and Jamie Whincup's charge through the field. We're back in a moment. Welcome back to the Super Cheap Auto Bathurst 1000. We have more than 180 cameras bringing you all the action from around the circuit. And so far we've seen some incredible action. The charge of Jamie Whincup from 23rd up to 7th spot. James Courtney started 10th and defending champion Mark Winterbottom is lurking there in 2nd spot. Shane Van Gisbergen off pole currently sits 3rd, but it is shaping up as a great race once again.
This is impressive speed, not just by Whincup, mind you, by a bunch of guys in the early part of this race, probably quicker than we expected to see. How's the way Whincup is now attacking Stephen Richards? He won't get too much resistance here, and he can't afford to get too bottled up because obviously car number 14, Fabian Coulthard's right in the game.
And that was a really indicative sign of the balance. Look how much road that Steve Richards is using versus Whincup. And this is one of the things Mark Larkham detailed it very well before the start about the balance of the car in the first stint. and the way the car looks, the way the car behaves, you've got to read this and drive to the grip level. And what's happened is Steve Richards' car is much more oversteering. That means that the rear of the car doesn't have enough grip, it slides around more. And versus Whincup, you can see it's almost half a car width everywhere that Whincup can run the car more narrow. This is a great shot for it, because you'll see out of Forest Elbow, watch just for the throttle, and that little tail wag, you just saw the little body language movement of Steve Richards' car coming onto Conrod Straight. Whincup will make this pretty quick. He'll get by very quickly, I would think, because he's got a little run now. This is on board the guys in the pit there, Jeremy Moore, Mark Dutton, David Couchy, the brains trust at Red Bull Racing. And he just moves it over. You can see the little wiggle, a little bit of body language again, under brakes for Steve Richards, and Whincup by. Whincup now up into 5th position from 23rd. This is one of the best first stints of this race I've ever seen. Unbelievable drive. This is a Brock-esque moment in Australian motorsport, and the way that he has carved his way through, he's taken risks, but they've been very well managed and beautifully executed.
Fabian Coulthard just gets a move there on Stephen Richards as well, so that will move Fab up another slot. So nice job here by Jamie Whincup. It's a determined approach at the moment from him.
James Courtney from the Holden Racing team, and I'm about to take you on the GoPro course preview of Bathurst. Here we go, we're out of the last corner, going across the start-finish line here, pulling up through the gears, concentrating on getting this first corner right. It's really sketchy on the brakes here, really easy to overcook it. In, kiss the apex, hard on the gas, the things are up on the curb, bouncing around as you plunge the gears. Long run down into turn 2, here's a really important exit. Feels like a roller coaster here as you go up over the crest and down into the braking. Really late braking here because you're braking uphill down to 3rd gear. Tip it in, carry a lot of speed because it's uphill. Hard on the gas on the exit, using all of the track out all the way out to the wall. Up into the cutting here, it's a bit sketchy. You turn in blind with the sun here, kiss the wall on the inside, back down 2 gears, then in, hard on the gas, still climbing, plucking gears, 3rd gear, car bounces, run out as close as you can to the wall, hook in under the tree here, kiss the wall on the left side again, about to drop down into the grey road. It's probably the most challenging part. The car's all over the place here, hard on the gas again, so close to the wall, come over here, car's on 2 wheels, smile for the camera, there it is, hard on the gas, down into the skyline, feels like falling off the end of the world here. Really tough pulling the car, moving so much in the rear. Hook in on the wall here, down, through the dipper, which is crazy. Out, through past the GoPro signs, hey boys. Down into the elbow, hard on the brakes, back to 2nd, really important here. In as close as you can, which I haven't done, missed it there, but hard on the gas on the exit here, all the way down to Conrod. We're going to hit about 300 Ks here, everyone, so hang on. Over this last crest, starting to build yourself up, having a few big crests. You're going to tip into the chase here at 300 kilometres an hour. In hard on the brakes, trying to pull this now. Biggest stop in Supercars, back to 2nd gear. Into the apex. Flat, you don't want to look now to the last corner. Nick has a bit of a slide. Up on the grass, it's quicker if you stay on the track, James. Let's try on that next time. Really important this corner. Back to 2nd gear. You don't want to muck it up. You just work so hard the whole lap. Flat hard out here, across the line. And that's the lap of Bathurst. Thanks everyone for coming along.
Not taking any prisoners, not mucking about. Bit of a surprise that it's been so aggressive. Meantime, Michael Caruso, we saw that car stop earlier. He's done a very fast time for the 2nd timing intermediate at the top of the hill.
He's only 25 seconds off the lead, so as different guys peel off in front of him when they get to the end of this first fuel load, he's going to bob up to the top for a while. Stay on board for a whole lap here with James Courtney. Skaife, who first gave Courtney an opportunity in V8 Supercars. So let's ride, watch and listen.
trying to shove the nose up the inside there. Stephen Richards couldn't get the car on. Just watch from on board. He was out of breath in 5th gear. Got the nose right there. See the back of Stephen's car just dancing around. It disconnected at the point where he loaded it, so that car's not happy at the moment. Stephen's done enough mileage around here over a very long period of time as a former race winner in a lot of different vehicles. He didn't put up any resistance, and not a smart play anyway at this point. So just on a second is the margin now between Scotty McLaughlin and Mark Winterbottom. Shane Van Gisbergen, they'll be monitoring the margin to the leader for him at 6.3 seconds. He's just drifted ever so slightly. Courtney holding station at best. Lap for him is a 2.8.8 versus McLaughlin 2.8.3. So not quite the pace for Courtney, but not bad.
And good pace if you think about those leaders. Neil, 8.33 McLaughlin, 8.32 Winterbottom, 8.5 Van Gisbergen, 8.8 as you said for Courtney, but an 8.24 previous lap for Jamie Whincup. So again, he lowers that marker. But the lap record has been lowered to the 8.24 from the 8.46 from 2007. So good battle here between these two guys. He's an extraordinary talent, Rihanna.
Clearly Shane's heartbroken at the moment, and Jonathan Webb has also left the garage. Such a disappointing way to end such a big race.
Incredible. But if there's an upside, and he has shown today what unbelievable speed and competitiveness he and that team have got.
And that is just so cruel. It is an extraordinary sport sometimes to have applied that effort, to have gone as fast, to have driven so well, and to make the simplest mistake. It's extraordinary.
The other thing about the Whincup off at turn 1, that had to be under yellow because they were probably trying to get back on the train. So that even amplifies that, as it just goes to show how hard they're all having to push at the moment. So,
you know what it does? Lowndes and Mostert are going to make it home because they've been topped up. They are now right behind Whincup and Winterbottom, who Winterbottom must conserve. He must. He's got to conserve. So, in terms of outright pace, it's still going to look like Lowndes with real race pace in the closing part of this event.
Oh mate, it ain't over yet. I'm just hearing down here now, if Whincup looks like he's not going to be able to make it on fuel as he gets closer, he'll let Lowndes go by, and then it'll be game on, because Lowndes will be racy, Whincup will still be conserving. FPR are watching very, very closely that rescue of that car up there. They need as many laps under safety car as they can here, so he can go like gangbusters. And I can tell you what, it was lucky for Winterbottom that did happen to Shane Van Gisbergen, because Jamie Whincup held up Mark Winterbottom all the way over when the safety car boards went out over the top of the mountain, and a clearly agitated Tim Edwards down here at Ford Performance Racing didn't like it at all. So that little gap that he was maintaining to Van Gisbergen may not have been that gap. So, wow.
Thanks, Largo. This is what I want to see, because
if he can get home from here with enough fuel to sprint, the other guys can sprint.
Okay, I said at the beginning of the race, shuffle up to the edge of your seat. I suggest it's a good idea to do that again, because it's on. And the closing stages of the Super Cheap Auto Bathurst 1000. And this is high stakes poker. But the focus is going to be on these first 4 or 5 heavyweights. They are playing for keeps here. They're playing for the greatest prize in Australian motorsport. And 300 points. 2 of them are fuel compromised, we think, inverteds. And the others have released themselves from that problem. But what have they all got? What's their tyre condition? What is the balance of the cars? The track will be coming to them. The shade is now appearing in various places around this racetrack, so it's going to be quick. And this is an unbelievable arm wrestle between 2 old foes at the top of the mountain.
This was the battle last year. Factory Ford versus Factory Holden. They're currently leading. The same circumstance we saw last year. Oh, massive moment for Lowndes. He was right out and almost crashed there. Mostert right up behind him. That was absolutely out of control. 220 kilometres an hour in rallycross mode.
Lowndes nearly binned that
on the exit of McPhillamy. He wrestles it back and it's loose at the rear. They've not been good on their restarts on several occasions in car 888. That was a move there for James Moffat, a critical one. He puts a move on Will Davison. It's a little air gap now for Winterbottom. What have they got in reserve? Do they have enough fuel? 300 kilometres an hour. Frosty's trying to go back to back. Whincup's done it before. They've got a little gap over Lowndes, who frightened everybody up at the top. Todd Kelly, he's in a battle there. Look at this, here comes Winter down the inside. He's got the thing jumping on the rear brake. They're on for the crisscross. It's now Holden from Ford as they roll down towards turn number 1. There's absolutely nothing in it, and Lowndes has got a step. Lowndes has made contact with Foster. Mustard's gone a second. Frosty's out of business. There's going to be emotion attached to this one. That is going to erupt in an absolute brawl in this paddock. Unbelievable circumstances to close out this race, and it is not done yet. Van Gisbergen is back in the motor race. What a great thing to see.
Now Lowndes didn't mean to turn him around then. Whincup got wide. Winterbottom got wide. Had too much wheel spin. When he was rejoining, it was just slightly slower, and Lowndes caught the back. Oh, spin for Perkins late. We've seen so much action up here at the cutting over the weekend. And Jack Perkins, who was going so well, to a massive dive. Down the inside goes Whincup, gets it done. The crisscross for Winterbottom. He tries to get back there. He can't. He moves it over, he shifts across. He then shifts back. He wants to optimise his line to get onto Mountain Straight. He turns it in. Mark Winterbottom makes a mistake. He gets wide. And Lowndes, who was on a run, he wanted to get the run. He'll be caught for that.
He's a big chance for a penalty, Craig Lowndes.
I agree.
He's a big chance for a penalty. And you can see how frustrated they are inside the garage at Ford Performance Racing. And equal amounts of emotion inside Red Bull. Can you believe that? Race Control's going to have to make a really tough decision here. Do they look at it later, or do they nick him now?
Yeah, I agree. He didn't mean to make contact. He's forged his way forward all day. He's taken huge risks. He's made a couple of mistakes in recent times. He almost crashed at turn 1 in the safety car period under yellow flags, but he's got away with it. He's currently leading. We don't know his fuel position, but we know Mostert and Lowndes can chase. Lowndes with a cloud over his finish based on the contact with Mark Winterbottom.
This is Frosty. He's dropped down now to 9th position. Unbelievable to see that kind of stuff happening so late in the race. And there's always been needle between Red Bull and Ford Performance Racing. Well, that just went up another notch. Lowndes is out of it. Team manager Mark Dutton, engineer Jeremy Moore, they've got to pass the message on to Lowndes.
Oh, but how's Lowndes? Look at the reaction in the Red Bull garage. He didn't mean to make that contact. Craig Lowndes he never fires people off for no reason. He didn't mean to do it, but he did do it. It was outside the regulations. It was on the exit of the corner. It spun Mark Winterbottom around, and he is going to get a pit lane drive-through penalty. Unbelievable.
We'll check the margin for you as Lowndes comes in for his penalty. It was 1.5 seconds. It's still 1.5 seconds. Whincup won this race with Lowndes 3 times and then won it in an amazing battle in 2012 with Paul Dumbrell defeating David Reynolds with huge question marks over the fuel in this car that leads. Look how tight this thing is. At the end of the day, the shadows are long.
Yeah, and I just had a quick chat to Paul Dumbrell. He said it's 2012 all over again. He does not know if this car will make it to the end of the race.
It's unbelievable. And look at the fellas down there at the Norton Hornets garage for Nissan Motorsport. If they can get James Moffat back in this game and up on the podium after a topsy-turvy weekend, that's a remarkable performance. Remember, that car found the wall twice at turn 2 today.
You are looking at history. If he can make it home, it is the lowest qualifying position to ever win the race. Peter Brock won in 1987 when he started 19th. He started today, Jamie Whincup, 23rd on the grid. He was on the back row. If he gets home, he's only led today, Crompo, he's only led 4 laps in the whole race. And to possibly, say possibly, big question mark, inverted commas on that one, he may be able, he's got to get the fuel consumption right and drive the car to the number.
And tantalisingly close to his first V8 Supercar victory.
Nothing left in the tank in his car, but everything left in the tank in the driver. The poker boys, Ross and Jimmy Stone, continue to hold him. They're not going to fold him. Lee Holdsworth just cannot get around Shane Van Gisbergen.
So just to emphasise, Mark Skaife made the point earlier about the good fuel consumption figures, locked the rear brake into turn 2. And then obviously good conservation during the safety car phase and phases of the race.
You have to go back 2 years to find Stone Brothers Racing's last victory. James Courtney was behind the wheel on that day. The crowd here are going berserk. 166,000 people. Down at turn 9, Stephen Richards will go around. They played their card. They gambled. And it did make the distance. In terms of the championship picture, James Courtney, a man who has won championships around the world. He's won the British Formula 4 Championship. He's won the Japanese F3 Championship. This is a homegrown win.
Thank you, guys.
Well done, James Courtney.
A new V8 Supercar champion is crowned here.
A nail-biter. A fight literally to the last lap. A seesaw brawl. You've got to feel for this guy. He gave it his all. They played a strategy percentage game. He got home in third. He'll be on the podium for his trouble, but it wasn't the critical win that he was looking for. And Gary Rogers can now watch and shake his head in disbelief. Well, you'll struggle to find better motor racing or high-energy motor racing anywhere in the world compared to what you've seen in the last 2 days here.
Jamie Whincup gave it his all. He couldn't get close enough to James Courtney this weekend after the disaster yesterday. And Whincup, after back-to-back champions, ends up second this year to our new champion.
Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe for more video gaming content. Xbox One Channel, Australia.